So are you looking? Would you like to know how to get to $1 million in your business? Or if you're already at $1 million, would you like to know how to get to 10? And regardless of what you're actually earning today, how to get there. And and I'm not talking about techniques. I'm talking about from a mindset, like a millionaire's mindset perspective, like what are the key things that you're going to need in order to be able to do it. One of the things I'm going to focus on today, I'm going to talk a little bit about is a book that I read some time ago, and I've read it multiple times. It was a book that was actually recommended to me by one of my success business coaches way back a couple 3 years ago, and the name of the book is called Relentless by Tim S. Grover, and you may have heard of it. You may have heard of the book. In fact, I'll show you what it looks like if you haven't. I'm able to share my screen here. It says here. So I'm going to share my screen. And this is what the book looks like. That's the book. And this book by Tim S. Grover, it says from good to great to unstoppable. And what he does is he talks about how being Tim was the performance coach for Michael Jordan. In fact, Michael Jordan was his first client ever. And so he was a performance coach for Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and Dwayne Wade and a few others. And but what the premise of the book, just to kind of give you some idea, the premise of the book and how the principles inside the book, how those things can, if you apply them, will help you be able to get to $1 million in business. And so let's see. All right. So we're sharing a book. That was a book. Let me stop sharing my screen. All right, we're back. So and with those principles, so the principles, let's talk about what the book is about first of all. So as he talks about, he gave some serious insight as to Michael Jordan and how, like, what was the killer instinct that Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade, what made them so totally different than everyone else. In fact, he actually categorized the top athletes, and the way he categorized the top performers are: one, he called the cooler, and the cooler is someone who, let me read it. It says the cooler is someone who's reliable, he gets the job done, and doesn't make any mistakes. However, coolers are not typically the ones to take charge in high pressure situations. You know, that wasn't Mike. You know, that wasn't Kobe. You know, that wasn't D Wade, right? And it says in a business. So the way I relate it, like in my notes, in a business context, they are comparable to consistent performers who deliver steady results, but may not take bold initiatives. So basically, a cooler is someone who if they're on your team, or if you're a cooler, if you're considered a cooler, you may be the type of person that can perform, right? You may be the type of person that will be able to get results. But like when it comes to, like I said, how do you get to $1 million, right? That's how we started. And so when it comes to going from, say you're making $100,000 today, say you're only making 50, because like for me, like just to give you some idea, for me, I made my first $1 million a year way back in, it was what, about 20 years ago, right? Is when I made my first $1 million a year in real estate after I left corporate America, went independent. Then, we did pretty well for a few years, and then we had the market crash in 2008, and I lost pretty much everything. I lost $1 million, and really we had, after about 2 years of trying to survive, waiting for the market to come back, which it didn't. That was the same time where, if you remember, where the banks were failing, where they had to actually come out and give these big old multi-billion-dollar TARP loans to these banks. And because and that's actually when who was it? Was it Chrysler? Chrysler, General Motors, out of Detroit, the car company, they failed. Like these car companies were going out of business. They had to save them as well. So the U.S. government had to step in, give all these loans to these big companies, or our economy, like the world economy, would have just totally shut down, would have been dead. Right. So and that was also in the age that was also created by the subprime lending space, right? That was the age of the subprime lending, where banks were giving people money. They were allowing people to borrow money with credit scores of 500, 550, where they were giving people money where the houses were valued at like 125 times more than what, like, they were lending on. So I mean, less than. So they were lending at 125 times 100. They were 25% over what the value of the homes were. It got really, really, really bad. I made a lot of money during subprime. But what happened, you had two things started to happen. One was those borrowers, the borrowers began to default. And as they began to default, there was a lot of foreclosures starting to happen. In fact, they started turning in their keys to these properties. But also what began to happen was, because the lending market, the borrowing market started to tighten up. Now, like, the economy changed, the housing market changed, and the values of the houses started to go down. So so they were already lending on houses at values that were 20, 25, 75% of what they were lending. They were lending 125% over value. I mean, of value. And then when the housing market started to crash, the values went down, where now the mortgages were significantly greater, like 2 times greater than what the value of the properties were. And by the way, they also had variable rate mortgages. So the variable rate mortgages, they started to kick in, and when the variable rates began to kick in, the mortgage payments got extremely high. And so now you had people that couldn't even afford to pay the mortgages anymore. Right? So they had properties that were 2 and 3 times greater than what the mortgages were. They had mortgage payments that they couldn't afford to make anymore. And the crisis was just got crazy. So we thought, like, I thought at that time, I had been in real estate for about 10, 12 years. And I'm thinking to myself, well, not 10 years, 15 years. And at that time, I'm thinking to myself, well, I've seen ups and downs in the market. Like this will get, this will pass. Well, guess what? It passed, but it didn't pass anytime soon. Like it didn't start to the banks didn't really start to lend again for another like 4 or 5 years is when things started to open up. And so anyway, and at that, well, I'll just give you a little bit more history. And at that time, like my payroll and at that time when it started was like $20,000 a week. So we had 50 people on payroll. We had construction crews doing all kinds of things. Anyway, and from my perspective, I did not want to just let people go that had a family to support if I truly in my heart believed that the market would rebound. Like, and that's what I believed. I believed the market rebound. I mean, I felt like I had the Midas touch because like I had made so much money. I've done so much in real estate that I didn't think I could fail at anything. And so after about a year and a half, like we started to, start letting people go. And finally, after about 2 years, two plus years, we had to shut everything down. Because why? We still had we had properties, but we had all kinds of renovation projects, and people like we weren't just reliant on rents. We were also relying on people buying places. So we were buying, we were holding, we were selling, we were flipping, we were making a lot of cash flow on the flips. And no one was buying. Why? Because no one could get mortgages anymore. So it just, that part just really dried up. And all right. So any case, if after that happened, I was out of real estate for a little bit, right? And that's when, for me, I say for me, it was a blessing in disguise. Why? Because like I was making millions of dollars, but as people know, um, my story, I was a great provider at home, but I really wasn't a great dad or husband because I was never around, and so it was a blessing in disguise because it gave me the opportunity to go home, right? And focus on home and um focus on being a dad. I was going to kids' schools and their games and started coaching them and those kinds of things. Then I started the homeless ministry, and then you know got back into real estate, and then I started with Airbnb, and then I started with coaching and mentoring and teaching people real estate all over the world. And so the first time I made $1 million, it took me from the time I started coaching and training people in real estate, it took me 18 months to get to $1 million a year. Right. And the person who actually recommended this book was my first business coach as related to just the coaching space. His name was Sam Ovens. Sam's out of New Zealand. Nice guy, smart guy, young. Sam is what, 30, in his, I think, mid 30s now. And but like I was in Sam's mastermind at that time. It was a 36. When I first joined the mastermind, it was a $36,000 mastermind. And one of the books that was recommended in his reading list was Relentless. And Relentless was a book that when I read it, it helped me just to understand where like the things that I was already doing that helped me to be successful, but the things that I really had to become very hyper intentional about, that was the reason why I was able to grow so fast and do things extraordinarily different than most people. Most people can't just go from zero to $1 million a year in 18 months, starting from scratch. Like I had no coaching experience. I had no online coaching and mentoring and training experience. I just knew how to do what I did. Right. But I had a heart to want to help people. And I had a desire, coaching fit into why the lifestyle that I wanted to live, right? Where I could be all over the world, regardless of where I was, the cash flow didn't stop. Right. And so, and that was the thing that with along with Airbnb got me out of traditional real estate, right? Where I had to have a bunch of rentals and dealing with tenants and things like that. So I still am in real estate, but it's now non-traditional because we have, instead of hundreds of units of rentals, we got hundreds of units throughout the country in Airbnbs, right? So anyway, back to this, right? So Relentless, what it talks about, in order to be to get to those levels of success, or if you're already at 1 million, then you've been successful, right? You've been successful in that space. You've done what most people still aren't able to do. But really, like $1 million is not a lot of money. Well, let me change that. $1 million a year is not a lot of money. $1 million is a lot of money, but $1 million a year is not a lot of money. It's not money that's going to make you wealthy in in a short time. Like $1 million a year, if you have like zero to no expenses, right, then you could build wealth pretty quickly with $1 million a year. But in most cases, when you're making $1 million a year, you're gonna have expenses related to doing that. But how do you get from $1 million a year to $10 million a year in a short time? And as you would already know, it is like, if you've done, whether you're in business or you've done anything significant, in order to really grow or really exceed expectations, um or be way above average, like way above average, there's certain principles that you have to follow, a certain mindset that you have to have. And so let me go through it. The other athlete that he talks about is the closer. So we talked about the cooler, the closer. The closers are more confident and can handle high pressure situations better than coolers. They can deliver good results, especially when given specific guidelines on what needs to be done. And so in business, how does that relate? In business, closers are like those who perform exceptionally well under certain conditions and can handle tough situations effectively. So you're still talking about the three high level athletes, right? The three high level performers. You got the cooler, who gets the job done but ain't going to take control. You got the closer, who can get the job done. They're always going to be exceptional, and they can also handle high pressure situations. So that's the closer, right? So you get that guy that steps up to the, like in baseball, who's the closer? You got the closers that come out, you got the pitcher, right? They come out the last couple innings and they close it out, right? But they're not pitching the whole game. They come out just for that. Or you get someone that throughout the whole game, that person may not be the one who like was killing it all the way through, but now he's the one who's got to step up to the plate, or she's the one who's got to step up to the free throw line, and when the game is on the line, make those last two free throws for the game, right? And they knock them down. Right. And then so you say, man, they're the closer. They know how to close things out. But where were they the rest of the game? Right. This is where the cleaner, and not to say they didn't perform, but like they didn't take the team and have the team on their shoulders the whole game. And they don't normally do that. They perform really well. Then they're pretty consistent and they'll close it out. But then you got another level. And another level he talks about is the cleaner. This is the Jordan. This is the Kobe. And at that point, when he wrote this book, I think it was in 2015. And at that point, he referred to LeBron as a cleaner. I mean, as a closer, but not as what he refers to as a cleaner. So a few people that he referred to as cleaners were, and if you're into sports, you'll get it. Jordan, obviously. Kobe, obviously, I mentioned it. D Wade, Larry Bird, Charles Barkley. He referred to those guys as cleaners. Wayne Gretzky, he referred to him as a cleaner. Like these guys get it done and they don't take any mess, right? And they're going to do it at every expense, right? So let me give you the example of cleaner, and then we'll talk about how that applies from a business perspective and some of the other things from a mindset perspective that comes into play with all of these. So with the cleaner, I'm going to talk about the cleaner. I ain't talking about the closer. I ain't talking about the cooler, because we ain't just trying to, like when we talk about getting to $1 million and you just making 50 right now, or you're talking about getting to $1 million and maybe you making 100,000 or 150 or 200,000, like getting to $1 million a year in a short time really is not difficult. It really isn't. If you're already making $150,000 a year or $200,000 a year, like that should be really easy. But there's some things that if you apply, that's what's going to help make it easier, outside of like depending on what type of business you're in, and that's a different conversation. So but I'll also share some examples of what I did and how these things apply and how they got me to now not just doing over $1 million a year, but now doing like 10xing that, right? So we're at that point where we're now 10xing those numbers, and in just a really short time, and on the road to being able to 10x that again within the next year, just with some of the things that are happening. But let me just talk about the cleaner first. So cleaners are the most intense and competitive of the three types. They not only perform well in high pressure situations, but also they thrive in them, right? Cleaners are self-motivated, they're driven, they and constantly, not sometimes, they constantly seek to exceed expectations. So their expectations, so others' expectations of us, it doesn't matter what everyone else's expectations, because our expectations of what we should be doing and can be doing and will be doing is always typically higher than what anyone else can expect of us, right? They take charge, they're decisive, and have a strong mental toughness. In the business world, so that was talking about athletes, but in the business world, cleaners would be those leaders or employees who consistently push boundaries, they're innovative, and drive significant changes or successes, right? And so those are the three categories. So we only are going to talk about cleaners because it's so, like, to get to where you may be right now in 10xing that, right? Being able to 10x it, I'm talking financially. Being able to 10x it it takes, like, in a short time. When I say 10x, and I'm not talking about 10xing it over 10 years. I'm talking about being able to 10x it in the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year. All right, you could be like me, 18 months. It took me 18 months to go from zero. That was way more than 10x, but zero to doing $1 million a year in the coaching space, right? So 18 months it took me, right? Where are you? Like, where are you at? And then once I got to that point, I'm going to tell you, it literally took me another two close to almost 2.5 years to be able to 10x that. So where we're now, instead of just doing $1 million a year, you're in that range of about 10 million a year, right? So what does it take to do that? What does it take? It's not someone that just is able to perform, and it's not just someone that has the ability to exceed um, um, just what the average is, right? It's not someone that just can handle tough situations, right? Again, as we talk about the the cooler and the closer, but the cleaner, like you thrive. Not you thrive on um on like those high pressure situations. You thrive on them. You you're decisive. You take control of situations, and your mental toughness is like off the charts. And you have to be able to push boundaries. I get in trouble all the time. My wife, she's like the total opposite of me. And when I say the total opposite, not total opposite. She was a military officer. She was a black belt, like I was. I was a military officer. I was a black belt. I was a drill sergeant, like all of that stuff. But the reason why, like the thing that pushed her was she always wanted to beat me. So, but I push boundaries, right? I like I'm driven by um and she doesn't like that. She doesn't like boundaries. And but but I'll be honest with you, like I already know that in order for me to have success, there's so many things that already have stacked up against me in society, right? Whether it don't matter if you black, white, red, yellow, brown, short, tall, fast, skinny, it don't matter. There's things in society, if you are not born with a silver spoon in your mouth, you already got the odds are already stacked up against you. But when you have this um this thing that they tag you with and call you a minority, now the odds are stacked even higher. And so the things that we must do, it has to be like you have to push boundaries, because everybody's trying to close the door on you and telling you can't do this. And not only telling you can't, making you try, doing everything they can in their power to make you believe you can't. You don't belong here. Right? You don't belong in these circles. You don't belong in this community. You don't belong in this bracket, income earning bracket. Right? You don't belong in this yacht club, this country club. You don't belong, right? You don't belong. You don't belong. And so you got to push boundaries, because sometimes what happens is if you hear that, like what I've learned is you hear that so long, not only from people that are trying to keep you out, that don't want you in, but even people who think they want you in, like even your family members, your mom, your dad. Like they've been beat down for so long too, and they may have gone through so much where they just in their brain just believe they don't belong. And if they don't belong, their kids don't belong either. And so you start to take on those beliefs, and they're so ingrained subconsciously where it's like, you know, um, it's like a horse. So when you raise a horse and the horse is young, you could just tie up the horse's thing um to the wood, and the horse won't be able to get away. Right? Used to see it. And then did you see like in the westerns where they would pull up to, with their horses, and then they would just kind of wrap it around the the piece of wood, just wrap uh the horse rope around the wood, and the horse wouldn't move. Even though the horse could get away, it wouldn't. Why? Because it's been trained so long that it can't, if that thing is wrapped around the wood, it can't go anywhere. Well, it's the same thing. You're trained so long to believe you can't that you don't even try anymore. And so that's why I push boundaries. I push boundaries because I know it's not just people trying to stop me. I know in my own brain subconsciously, I'm trying to stop me too. And that, you know, that's programming that, books like this and many others that I'll be recommending as well over time, that um that that I recommend to my masterminds and my inner circles and my VIPs. Like, these are high level books that help us to not just get a new mindset, but erase the old. Right. So we're talking about relentless. So let's talk about some of the things that he covers in here too. So when he talks about the cleaner's mindset, he says, adopt the mindset of a cleaner. He says, the individuals who are most relentless, he says, unstoppable and consistently excellent performers. In business, it means basically just striving for the highest level of performance and not settling for, here's this word, good enough, right? Good enough is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. Good enough means you have the ability to just, yeah, it's nice. You could take care of your family. You could pay the bills. You could get a house. You could have a nice car. But if you were to stop today, how long could you last? But if you were to die today, would your family be taken care of for generations? If you've gotten there, then that's good enough. Like that's what good enough is. Anything else is unacceptable, right? And so the question is, who do we compare ourselves with? Are we comparing ourselves? Are you the biggest fish in the pond where everybody else might be punching a clock or everybody else might be doing pretty good, but you're doing better? And now it's just good enough. Even though there's so much more that you could be doing. In fact, that there's so much more that you should be doing, right? That was Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan could have been good enough, right? He did so many amazing things. He could have stopped at one ring, could have stopped at two, could have stopped at three, could have stopped when his dad got murdered. Right? He could have stopped after he failed at baseball. He could have stopped after the first year he came back from retirement and lost in the playoffs. What did he do? He went on and won 2 more titles. He could have stopped after basketball. What did he do? He went out and bought a team. Right? So and became a billionaire. There were no billionaire. I believe he was the first billionaire NBA basketball player. Like he totally, like, what he did was well beyond exceptional. And anytime anybody talks about Mike, they talk about how he was, like, he was intense, and good enough wasn't acceptable for him, and no one else around him, he wouldn't accept that from anyone else around him. Kobe the same way. Right? But is that your attitude? Is that your attitude? I could tell you, I'll get into some of that. So cleaners mindset. So relentless work ethic. Relentless work ethic. To emulate the work ethic of top athletes by being persistent, practicing continuously, and always seeking improvement, even when you're already successful. So it's the same thing we just got finished talking about. Even when you've had success, it doesn't mean you stop. Even when like you may have made your biggest day. You might have had a week where you generated $20,000, and then you're like, I'm good for the month, because previously your best month was maybe $10,000, but now you hit 20 grand in a week, and instead of stopping, what do? You keep pressing and look to duplicate that and do it again and do it again, and not only just do it again, but even exceed it. Like, people thought I was crazy when I said I'm going to be making $100,000 a month. Like, everybody thought I was nuts. Like, what are you talking about? And then when I did it, they were like, oh, wow, how are you doing this? And then when I said I wanted to make $1 million a month, everybody thought I was crazy again. And then when we did it, I didn't really tell many people about that then. There were some people, though, that still thought I was crazy, and they did know when we did it. They were like, whoa. And now we're like, we want to make $1 million a day in a day. And so we're that's our new frontier. But not only us, but now helping others to make $100,000, their first $100,000 in a month, and then $1 million months, right? Like we've done. So that, like, because that's fun. Like, it's fun being able to push those boundaries. And what you find out is, as I said, remember I said $1 million is not a lot of money. Like, if $1 million, you're making $1 million in a year, it ain't really that much money. But if you make $1 million in a month, that's a lot of money. You make $1 million in a day, it's a whole lot of money. Right. And so, and those are the things that really change not just lives, but they change generations when you're able to do that. So again, this is millionaire mindset. So I'm talking about money, right? That's what I'm talking about right now. I'm just talking about money. So don't judge me, because this is I love talking about that. I love talking about the Lord, love talking about the Bible, but I also love talking about money, right? I don't, why? Because I study it. Like, I've been studying this stuff for a long time, and it's fun. It's fun to understand how this stuff works. And it's fun to be able to master the skills to being able to generate extraordinary amounts of money by serving people at the highest level with the gifts and talents that God's blessed you with, using systems, pushing boundaries of limitations that people put on you, and then also being innovative with the gifts and what others have accomplished, being innovative to take those things to the next level. That stuff is so much fun. I like we'll get into it. I just like I could just do that stuff all day. It's one of the reasons why when I was, I wasn't a great student when it came to college. Like, I wasn't a great student at all. In fact, I left before I even got my degree. But in the military, in the boxing ring, in the dojo, like, all those things where I was able to get and do the thing, be innovative, push boundaries and see what those results would be like, and put everything on the line. Like, I was exceptional. I was exceptional in those areas, right? And the same thing in business, right? I've accomplished things that many people will never accomplish, and we ain't even close to being done yet. So it's exciting. So what about you? Right? What about you? Are you willing to do that? Right? Are you willing to push the limits to what people say that you can't do because of their limitations? Might be your sister, your brother, your aunt, your uncle, your friend. It may be even your coach. Your coach might only be making 1 million a year and saying, well, it took me 5, 10 years to get there. So you're going to have to, this is how it's probably going to take you that long too. Hogwash. Or maybe you're already making 1 million and you're like, well, getting to 10 million, it's going to take me like 10 years, or it's going to be a lot of work. Let me tell you, making $100,000 a month was easier than making $100,000 a year. And then making $1 million a year. And then making $100,000 a month, which totals $1 million a year. It was also easier to make $1 million in a month than it was making it in a year. But people, like, in your brain, it doesn't really click. It doesn't make sense, right? In fact, one of my business coaches today, he's the one who helped me to see that. His name is Myron Golden. Like, he helped me to see that, and I didn't, like, I couldn't fathom it. Like, I knew it was possible, but I didn't believe it was going to be easier. I thought I had to work harder and do a lot more of what I was already doing. And it's not really the case. So let's get into mindset. So in any case, as I was saying, I was just asking you the question. So as I say that, I'm saying that for this purpose. Don't allow someone else's limitations that they set for themselves or set for you be your thermostat. Like, you set your own thermostat. In fact, there's only, let me tell you where you get your limitations from. Right here. Go to Genesis and see who he says you are. You go to Genesis and see what he says your limitations are. And when you read that, then you'll understand what you can and can't do. And in fact, there ain't a whole lot you can't do. Right? He says, we may touch on that, but just go to Genesis and just read Genesis chapter 1. At the end of chapter 1, he says what you have dominion over. He'll tell you what you have dominion over, right? Which says what your limitations are. You'll see. So don't let any man or woman, no matter how much you love or like them or respect them, put limitations on you. All right? Okay. That's the only person that can put a limitation. He's the only one that can put a limitation. All right? And yourself as well. So, number 3, embrace pressure. Learn to thrive under pressure. Learn to thrive under pressure. Great business leaders, like elite athletes, perform their best when the stakes are high. So when the stakes are high, they perform their best. Perform under pressure. Number 4, focus on results. Focus on the goals and the results rather than getting caught up in the process. This helps in maintaining clarity and purpose in business strategies. So when I think about results, like, what are the results? The results, when I think about results, I work all the way from the back. I work from the end result and backwards. So in order for me to make $1 million in a day, I know that I have to use the gifts God given me in a way that I serve people at their highest level, which allows them to get a specific result. So another book that I'll reference is no, it's not a book. It's Zig Ziglar. So Zig Ziglar, one of the things that Zig said was, he said, so Zig Ziglar said, if you want to if you learn how to solve people's problems, he says, if you learn how to solve people's problems, get people what they want. So if you get really good at getting people what they want, then you'll always have what you want. And so when you're serving someone, when you're serving your population, the population of your customer, your avatar, at a high level, when I say a high level, meaning like what's the great thing that they want in business, or in my case in business, right? What is it that they want? I know what my what my avatar, what my clients want, what my students want. They want to be able to have family financial freedom fast and forever. They want to be able to to generate build generational wealth. They want to be able to, some cases, get out of their 9 to 5. In other cases, just get out of the rat race and out of the grind, because they may be business owners. They want to be able to get out of that so that they can build legacy with their, spend that quality time with their loved ones and build legacy with their kids and future kids and grandkids and future grandkids. They want to be able to be more of a blessing to their church and their community. They want to be able to help family members who really need it. Right? They want to be able to change some of these generational cycles. Right? Where I talked about them earlier. Our parents are like the way we grew up, where we were just limited in the things that we were able to do. And they don't want that for not only for them, for the rest of their lives. So they've already broken that in many cases, but they don't want their kids or future grandkids to ever have to live anything close to the way they did. Right? They want to be able, so breaking those generational cycles, build generational wealth. They want to be able to travel, and be able to travel all over the world whenever they want, without worrying about cash flow. Right? And they want to be able to, again, push the boundaries. They want to be able to take those gifts, those talents, those passions that God's blessed them with, and nurture them and grow them and use them in a way, not just for themselves, but their kids and their family members, to be able to use these gifts in a way that they can truly make their mark on the world and on society the way they're called to. Be fruitful and multiply. Right? Fill the earth, subdue it, and have dominion over all these things. It's right there, Genesis 1. So what he's telling us to do, want to be able to do that. And so, because the Lord's blessed me with a gift to be able to do that as well, like I love being able to share what I do. So if I know that that's what they want, how do you serve at the highest level? Well, I can only serve at the highest level giving back giving to others what the Lord's given to me, in the wisdom that he's given me with all the experience and success that I've had in the real estate market, right? And in the coaching space. So I help people build I actually build $1 million portfolios for people in just 3 to 6 months. Right. So we do that in the Airbnb space. We build them for them, and it's 97% hands-free for them. So what does that do? That's serving at a very high level, right? Because now when you're able to do that, now you got freedom to do the other things that you want to do. And we do the same thing on the coaching side as well, right? In our Wealth BNB programs, we do that on the coaching side so that people are able, using the same framework that I use to make millions of dollars in the coaching space, our high level VIP students, Wealth BNB VIP students, they take that same framework along with my guidance, and they serve people at the high level, giving people what they want, right? And so when you're able to do that, when you're able to give people what they want, able to get results for people, you don't ever have to really think about your results anymore, because your results are their results. And when you get their results, guess what? They're going to pay you very, 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 very well for it. Very well. Think about that. So focus on results. Don't get stuck in the process too much. You work your way back, and then process, process is a piece of it, but it's really like my main thing is results. It's results. How do we get the results? How do we get the result, the best results in the easiest way? And so mental toughness, develop mental toughness to handle challenges, criticism, and failure. This resilience is the key to long-term success in business. Let me tell you, yes, it is. Because you're going to have your ups and your downs, and you're going to have haters. You're going to have family members who love you, and you're going to have family members who love you. And even in their love, you'd be like, man, if that's love, I would hate to see what kind of advice you're going to give me if you hate me. Right? You got friends, right? You're going to have so-called friends and friends that are gonna, because you're gonna be talking and thinking and doing things differently, where you don't have time for the little nonsense. Like Mike, Kobe, like they didn't hang out much with their teammates. They didn't care. Bird, like they didn't care if they weren't trying to be liked. They just wanted to be respected. And the way they got respect was by setting the bar so high. They were the first ones in, always the last ones out, setting the bar so high that, and never going down to everyone else's level, but making people come up to theirs. And then that's why when people played with Kobe, people played with Mike, people played with Bird, like they and LeBron, I'm going to call LeBron because I believe I do believe that LeBron falls into this category as well. But he ain't Mike, right? He's done great things. He's definitely he's broken all kinds of records. He is not just a closer. So, but they make people around them better. And a lot of times those people that were around them that won championships with them, when they went to other teams, they're like, what? Like, this is what we paid for? Why? Because Mike, Kobe, LeBron, D-Wade, Bird, they weren't on that team. And they made them rise to the occasion, right? So the people around you, some of them ain't going to want to rise, right? Because you ain't going down. You focused. You're going to start sounding different, acting different, talking different, eating different, sleeping different, reading different, right? You're going to be doing a lot of things different. And like people are afraid. People are afraid to be left behind. And sometimes in that, they want to pull you down to keep you with them. And when you got that attitude of good enough is unacceptable, then like you might even come off as arrogant sometimes, not because you're trying to be, but because like you just ain't you're not going, like anything that gets in your way, you gonna stop it. And so it comes off sometimes where it could be offensive to people, right? And sometimes people just won't get it. It's not about the person, it's just about the attitude that's wanting to keep you back, and your focus is this way, right? So anyway, mental toughness. Don't fear failure. Number 6. See failures as learning opportunities. In business like sports. Setbacks can provide valuable lessons and drive future successes. 100%. Like if you're like, like I'm not waiting for stuff to be perfect before we get started. Like, what's the play? What do we need to do? All right, let's go. We gonna go, and then like we jumping out the plane and we put the parachute on the way down. Right? I know as long as I know I'm high enough, I can put the parachute on the way down. Right? That's kind of the example. But um but in a different example, it's if you don't know exactly all the steps, but you know that you can accomplish the thing, you don't have to go out and build this big old business plan. You don't have to go out and buy all this brick and mortar. You don't have to build this extravagant program before you get started. That's what most people do, and why most businesses fail the first 3 to 5 years. Most businesses fail the first 3 to 5 years because they put so much energy and resources into all the physical stuff. And then because, they do that because they think, man, they're like, if I don't have this, it's not going to work. Or they're thinking about all that stuff and then they never even get started. Oh, I need this, need this, need that. No, don't worry about it. Like, just get started because you're gonna learn. You're going. I know one thing I know 100% I'm gonna make a mistake. I know that. Like, I'm waiting for the first mistake and I'm embracing it because I know I'm gonna learn from it. And then, we just like the more I can do, the faster the iterations, the faster I'm gonna learn. And the faster it's gonna get better and 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 better until boom. Now that thing is just humming. Right. So don't be afraid of failure. Number 7, trust your instincts. It says top athletes often rely on their instincts during critical moments. In business, trusting your gut can sometimes lead to innovative and effective solutions. True. Stay uncomfortable. I love this topic. Always push yourself out of your comfort zone. In business, this means continually seeking new challenges and opportunities for growth. So again, remember I said, like, we jumping out the plane, put the parachute on the way down. Like that's an example where, or we're doing something and I don't need to know exactly. Like I know I'm going to make a mistake and I'm not afraid to make it. Right. So, but because I know that we're going to be successful, I know that I know how to get the results. I just may not know, like, if the best way to get it is this way or that way. But either way I go, we're going to get the result. It just may take a little longer this way. And then guess what? If I figured out that it's taking longer this way, then we make the adjustments and do it this way the next time. Right. And then we want to get better and better and better. Well, the one thing that, and I shared this with one of my VIP students recently, that when I started coaching, my calendar for people that were booking calls to see if I can help them with Airbnb, I had my calendar blocked off for 5 days a week from 7 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night. Every hour on the hour, I wanted to talk to somebody. So I had my calendar open, somebody could book. Right. And I could tell you, like, literally, after talking to about 3 or 4 people in the beginning, my body just wanted to just crash. You would never think that talking on Zoom and just explaining and helping people would be that taxing on you physically or emotionally or mentally. And it like in the beginning, it was. Now today, I can do this stuff all day. But what did I have to do though? Like, the thing that I had to do to prepare for that was I had to I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. This morning I got up at 4 and then I put a book in my ear and I went back to sleep. Actually, I put some affirmations in my ears, my own affirmations. I put them in my ears and then I put some binaural beats behind that. And I just did that and went back to sleep for like another hour and a half, and then I got back up. But normally, like, I'm up between 4 and 5 o'clock. But back then, when I was at 0, I was 4 o'clock every day, taking cold showers. I hated cold showers. I took a cold shower every day for a year, every day. I still take cold showers. Took one today. I didn't take when I say took a cold shower, I took a regular shower. It was warm. And then I always end it on cold. I'll end it for maybe 3 minutes on full blast cold. Right. So I take a cold shower. I will eat things and do things that I don't like, and like I'd never eaten before. Like, I would go out, like, I run. I love to run. That came from my old boxing days, but I still love to run to keep my body in shape, but I like to push it too. Like, if I run just a 2-mile run, like, that ain't, I can't even do that. I feel like I might as well just stay in the house. But I'll go, and I love to run on the beach, because when I run on the beach, like, if I could push myself, because if I go 5 miles that way, I got to come 5 miles back. If I go 6 miles that way, I got to come 6 miles back. Right. So running anywhere from 8 to 10 to 12 miles, like, I love to do that, to push, because when I'm pushing now, mentally, I'm thinking about the limitations or the things that are before me, that are tough, that may seem hard. And, like, it's my opportunity to just press through something and get used to pressing through things that aren't comfortable, so that I learn to be uncomfortable, learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable, so that when other things I approach aren't comfortable, it like, my brain is already trained. So what? Like, let's go. Right. So that's how we push the boundaries, right? Learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. So that, I'm going to tell you, Sam Ovens was the one, when I joined his starter program, his accelerator program. Like, there was a questionnaire that he did, and had people, go through, and then he challenged you on some stuff in the questionnaire. And that was one of the first things that, like, that's where I learned that. And it changed it. I'm going to tell you, that part, that changed my life. It changed my life. So learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Push yourself. Push. Right? Change your brain. Like, there's a lot of things that are scary when you go into the next level. There's some it seems scary. Why? Because nobody's ever done it before you, that and you haven't done it. And people all your life have been telling you you can't do it. And our brains are designed to protect us from things that are going to kill us. That's what our brains are designed to do. So when you start doing things that could potentially hurt you, based on subconsciously what your brain understands, then your brain is going to say, no, stop. Danger, Will Robinson, stop. Right? You got to learn to push those things, because those things they're not dangerous. They're dangerous, meaning somebody might tell you no. They're dangerous, meaning you might lose a little bit of money. But if you taking calculated risks, like, we don't gamble. We ain't gambling. Like, you're smart. You're surrounding yourself with smart people. If you got a good coach, if you're doing something and you're trying to go to a 10x level, go get yourself a coach that's already there and that's willing to show you and help you. Go get one. Like, I pay big money just in the last 2 years. I paid over $500,000 for coaching. Because I'm not out there trying to figure this stuff out myself. There's already people that God allowed help to get there already. And he's already put it in their spirit to help others to do the same thing. I just have to be patient and or pray and figure out who those people are so that I can learn and expedite my process. That's it. And guess what? If they're worth their weight, then then they ain't gonna be cheap. They're not gonna be cheap. So going from a couple $1 million a year to $10 million a year to $1 million in a month, is that worth a few $100,000? You darn tootin' it is. You darn tootin' it is, right? So, and it's the same thing. Like my VIPs, like I get paid over $5,000 an hour. My programs are anywhere from 50,000, 150, 100, 125,000, 150,000, $250,000. But guess what? They're making millions of dollars. Is it worth it? You darn tootin' it is, right? Because it ain't about figuring it out, right? So, but guess what? When it's time to make those investments, it's scary for the first time. It's scary, not because you feel like you're gambling, because obviously you've done your research to figure out who these people are that not only did they do it for themselves, but they're helping others to do it too, so they can help you. But you've never made that kind of investment. So your brain's going, danger, Will Robinson, danger, Will Robinson. But in your gut, in your spirit, the discernment that God's given you is telling you that's what you're supposed to be doing. But you're scared. Your brain is trying to protect you. If you haven't trained your brain to get comfortable pushing the boundaries and being uncomfortable, then you're going to be walking away from opportunities all the time that are right there, that allow you to go to your 10x next level, like in a short period of time, not 10 years from now. Right. So I told you I like that subject because I'm gonna tell you that's the thing that changed my life. Doing that. And I keep doing it over and over and over again. I'm looking for the next thing. What's the next thing where I can just like push myself? If I hate to tell myself, if you ever hear me saying, oh, I can't do that. Oh, I would never do that. Like, meaning I don't like something, meaning like it's not hard or it's not bad. It's not something bad. It's just, oh, liver. Like I won't even say it because I don't want to eat it. I don't want to eat liver. But I would never say I would never eat liver. Because as soon as that comes out of my mouth, I'm going to go do it. Because that is wrong. It's wrong. Like it's wrong. Right? If I know it's going to be uncomfortable. I know I'm not. In fact, I'm probably going to eat liver. I don't even eat meat. I might go and eat some liver because I hate liver. I've always hated it as a kid. I don't even eat meat, but like that's the worst meat for me ever. And I might just go and eat some just because I even allowed it to come out of my mouth. Right. So pushing the limits, the boundaries a little bit so that this thing is not the thing that's in control. Right. All right. Or this thing, the flesh, right? The flesh wants to be comfortable. No, get comfortable being uncomfortable because the things that we need to get done, it ain't going to be comfortable to you. But guess what? When we do them, the comfort's on the other side. You're going to be able to do things for the rest of your life that most people will never be able to do. Right? So, all right. I told you I like that subject. So I'm gonna move on and we're gonna wrap it up. Control your inner narrative. Maintain a positive and empowering inner dialogue self-belief, and confidence are crucial in business leadership. So maintain a positive and empowering inner dialogue. Would you hear me say this morning? I at 4 o'clock, I woke up, rolled over, kissed my wife, and then I was like, I don't think I got enough sleep. And it's just been a long week. I got a few other things. Let me get another hour or so in. I just wanted to see if I could. If I wasn't, then I would have just got up and got at it. Cause I ran. What did I run? I did what, 4? I think I did 4 miles. It was a short run today. But I did hills today. I did hills. So anyway, but the inner dialogue, the reason why I put those things in my ear is because I woke up, I had a dream. I had this dream last night. In the dream, like I was confused about something and I was frustrated about something. I don't like to be frustrated. I don't like to use the word frustrated. But in my dream, I was frustrated and I was confused about something. And so when I woke up this morning, like I remembered the dream, I woke up because I was frustrated in the dream. And so I put on my affirmations, the things that I created years ago, and then updated after I'd accomplished everything in those affirmations. And then put them in my ear and just fell back asleep. Right. So remember how I said, like, reading books in the mindset that you have to accomplish that 10x thing, that extraordinary thing that people around you have never done, that most people around you have never done, or that's significantly greater than what you've accomplished so far. So, and the thing that allows us the ability to do that is not just learning new things. It's also about unlearning a lot of the old things. Right? We got, like, our brains are like a computer where we have this stuff written in, in our programming. It's just burned in there. And you don't even know. You're just operating based on the old programming. Well, you got to listen to certain things. There's a number, but I got 186 books in my Audible. 186. And some of those books are just mindset books. Some of those books are just success principle books. Some of those books are business principle books. Some of those books are spiritual books. Some of those books are, when I say spiritual, I mean, this is what I'm talking about. I ain't talking about like spiritual, like all this other funky stuff. I'm talking about books on the Bible and about our Lord and Savior, like that, those kind of books. But all those things, like, I'm always listening to that stuff, always, just because not just learning more, but burning more. Right. So I definitely recommend that. So do that, control your inner narrative. And when you find yourself saying things that are limiting, you have to be hypersensitive to the words you're using. Hypersensitive, because when you speak it, you're actually burning it in to your subconscious. So you got to be speaking the things. Don't be afraid to say the things that everybody else is telling you crazy saying or doing. Don't be afraid. Say them. Say them. How did God create the world? What did he say? He said, then, in Genesis, right? He said, in Genesis, he says, then God said, let there be light. Then God said, let there be a firmament. Then God said, let the waters under the under the heavens be gathered together. And then God said, let the earth bring forth, right? The word, words, these words are so important. What comes out of here is so important. It's so not so just so important, but powerful. So our words, if you're speaking anything about yourself and it's negative, you better, I'm gonna tell you this, you better be aware of it and cut it. Cut it. Right? Just cut it. So, all right, and then the last thing, because you got enough people out there that are telling you you can't, or you this or that. Like, no more. You can't be the one. You can't be doing it too. Right. And then lastly, be decisive. Just like athletes must make split decisions, business leaders should be decisive, taking calculated risks when necessary. So, so again, like in the book Relentless, that in that last principle, when you talk about split decisions, like as a business person, you are an athlete. Like you are a world-class athlete. If you're looking to really become a multi-millionaire, then you need to look at yourself as a world-class athlete. But the difference is you're not out there competing and performing with your hands and your body physically. Like where you're performing most as a world-class athlete, as a multi-millionaire, $1 million business owner, is mental. Like we're making split decisions, hundreds and hundreds of split decisions every day. We're making decisions that affect our lives and others' lives every day. So this thing has to be on point. Why did I say I slept for an extra hour? Because like, we got a lot of stuff going on. And I just want to be extra sharp. One of the reasons I wear my Aura ring, right? Because I monitor my sleep. I monitor my heart rate. I monitor the things I eat. I monitor how much activity I have. I monitor my health. Why? Because I consider myself a world-class athlete. Even though I ain't fighting anymore, I'm a world-class athlete. And you are too, if that's that you're going to need to be as well if you are trying to do the exceptional. So hopefully that book, like if you haven't read it, go get it. I do have to give you though this disclaimer. Some of the language that he uses in that book, I do not condone. And I would never use it. However, if you can just hear past some of the language in there and get the points, then you'll be good. But other than that, I thought it was an excellent book. I've listened to it multiple times, and I just read it again just this week. And so that's why I thought I'd just share it. And I thought I'd share here how that if you just take those principles of not being a cleaner, not being a closer, right? Taking the principles where not being a cooler, not being a closer, but being a cleaner, like being that person who good enough is unacceptable, right? When your families, when what you're looking to accomplish in business is going to change your family's life forever, or what you're looking to accomplish in business, you need to accomplish it like not 10 years down the road, but maybe 10 months down the road. Why? Because you want to have the ability to enjoy it. with those that you love for a lot longer, then then good enough is unacceptable. And anything less than that number, and you serving at the highest level, the people that need a result, and the result that you're capable of giving them, anything less is unacceptable. And when you take on that attitude and you go through those principles, like you take on those principles, then I'm here to say, especially if he's leading you, I'm here to say that you can't fail. You have your chances of failure are going to be like this. As long as you stay focused, stay persistent. It may not happen as quickly as you want it, but I'm telling you, it will happen. You just have to trust him, trust yourself. Don't be afraid of failure. Don't think it's got to be perfect. Just go out, do it. All right. So hopefully this was helpful. And if it was, share it with someone, share it with 7 people. 10, 7, 7's the number of completion. So share with 7 people. Someone else may be blessed by this. And if you leave a comment inside of inside of the comments below, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you, I'll send you something that that will be even more of a blessing to you and help you to take what I shared tonight to the next level for you. So with that said, God bless you. You got this. Be relentless.